This is Contractor Sense with Ruth King.
Welcome to Contractor Sense. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to your contracting business and you. I'm your host, Ruth King. This episode is sponsored by Financially Fit Business. Get the business tool that turns your financial statements into impactful graphs that help you see your business trends to make sure that you're not headed for a cash flow, profitability, or productivity issue. Go to www.financiallyfit.business and get started today. Do you get frustrated when your team members can't read your mind? How about it when you get the feeling, if it needs to be done right, I have to do it myself? Or maybe you can't grow because you don't like to delegate? My guest today, Skye Warren, founder of the Unconventional Organization, gives you the three biggest reasons owners struggle to delegate and how to eliminate that struggle. Skye, welcome to Contractor Sense.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here.
My pleasure. I have, as we've talked about, I've been looking forward to it for so long because of the content, because I know so many people who just don't delegate well. So what do you think? What do you think the three biggest reasons that owners I should say struggle to, but in a lot of respects don't delegate?
Yeah, it tends to have a lot to do with, trust, communication, transparency. The reason that people don't delegate is often less to do with the practicalities of it, although that does come up, and initially at least more to do with the feelings of it. When I'm working with clients, my goal is to help them with that delegation, and the clients I work with specifically, and actually a lot of people who are self-employed are struggling with ADHD symptoms, and that can make delegating particularly difficult.
Yeah. Well, how do we know we're ADHD?
That's a great question. So there is a way you can find out for sure. You can go to a psychiatrist or, in some cases a psychologist, and you could get assessed. But for a lot of people, it's not something that they need to get assessed for. It's not something that they feel is at that point. It's more of a subclinical background information. And so if that's somebody, then they're just the kind of person who knows that they struggle with working memory, they struggle with time blindness, they struggle with transitioning between different tasks, with focus on things that aren't that interesting. And these are all, in many respects, one of the reasons why people go into self-employment, which is one of the reasons why when you look at the statistics, you find that people who are self-employed are more likely to have these struggles. And these struggles are one of the reasons why delegating can be so difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about, that's a piece of it, but also is trust. Let's assume that, all right, I don't have any of that stuff, but I still don't trust anybody. I mean, how do we deal with that?
Yeah. Well, the trust is often supported by the transparency. So for us, it's like, okay, if you are struggling with trust, then you need to find a way to make what you're doing more transparent. And often that looks like understanding how what they're doing is happening. So there's different ways that we can do that. Generally speaking, what I recommend as a first step is it depends on the person that you're working with, but if you're working with them in more of the behind the scenes admin space, which is often surprisingly where some of this can come in, you want to have a Notion list or something along those lines that you guys are using together. So you're working super transparently. If you're working with a team, the biggest problem that you have is making sure that they're going to be checking in, that they're going to be giving you the videos and the photos and things that you need on a regular basis. So the way to solve trust is always going to be just transparency of what they're doing. But the problem is that people can often struggle with asking for transparency, but not micromanaging.
Yeah, that's interesting because micromanaging is, okay, I want the transparency, but I'm going to make sure you do every little thing and dot every I and cross every T exactly like I would do it.
Yeah, 100%. And this is one of the things that comes up a lot because especially for people who, haven't necessarily worked with team members, or maybe they have, but they haven't had it go well. This is kind of where they can really struggle to understand how to square that circle. Because the truth is, if you're running your own, your own job, you're probably working really intense hours. You're doing a lot. You might be doing it very reflexively, especially if you're one of those people who struggle with all the symptoms I mentioned before. And so you might have to come to terms with what somebody else can do in a day, and that is often a tricky puzzle. And that's why I say transparency rather than giving them a list and being like, you didn't tick it off by the end of the day, because sometimes, especially if you tend to be time blind, and you guys know who you are, that this could be done in 5 minutes, people, we need to go in and we really need to see what they're doing before we start judging it.
Yeah, I think a lot of owners really think that, okay, because I can do it in an hour, everybody else should be able to do it in an hour. But they're employees.
Exactly.
They're not
Yeah.
owners. They're not going to work 24/7, 365 or whatever else it is, because it's not their business. And so I think part of it is realizing that, as you say, time blindness, but realizing that no employee is going to work as hard as you do.
Yeah. And if they do, then maybe they're going to go off and run their own business,
Their own business.
or
Exactly.
burn out. It's not always a good thing.
No, it's like, all right, I'm going to learn everything I possibly can. I'm going to work my butt off. I'm going to make you, trust me and everything else like that. And then I'm going to say, bye, I've learned everything I possibly can from you.
Mm-hmm.
And I come out
Yeah.
in bed. So, Skye, if somebody wants to reach out to you before we take a break, how do they
Mhm.
do that?
Yeah, so you guys can just click the link. We'll give you a link for in the show notes today. And you can reach out to me to book a business build out assessment for your business. So we're looking for people specifically who are between the 500K to million space with what they're doing. And they're looking at essentially having everything run through their head. They're not delegating, and they need help getting these systems in place.
Sounds great. Skye, thank you. We will be right back. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense.
Imagine you had total freedom. You didn't have to worry about money. You didn't have to be a slave to your business. The words, I can't, are eliminated from your vocabulary. What if you could do what you want to do, whenever you want to do it? A financially fit business could give you that freedom. How? By knowing what your financial statements are telling you and taking action based on what they say. You can do this in less than 10 minutes a month at an investment of less than taking your family out to dinner once a month. And if your financial statements are a mess, you can get help. Go to www.financiallyfit.business or click on the QR code below to get started today.
We're back. I'm speaking with Skye Warren, who is the founder of the Unconventional Organization, and we're talking about delegation and refusing to delegate. Should it really be called refusing or afraid? Which would be better?
I mean, I think it comes across as refusing, but I haven't spoken to anybody where when we get down to it, it's not about fear. Because the thing you've built, it is your baby in many ways, and you built it from the ground up when it was something that nobody necessarily believed in, nobody thought would work potentially. And so now to be able to trust it to somebody else, it makes sense that can be difficult.
All right. And how much do processes come into this? I mean, I know we talk about, ticking off from your perspective, okay, we did X,
Mhm.
Y, Z, A, B, and C. But is that really what it takes to delegate? Or, I mean, there's still people who I know who micromanage that and go, okay, let me see your checklist and your to-do list. And you didn't do this and you
Yeah.
didn't do that, I mean,
Yeah, it can be about processes, but what I have found is that, you can build SOPs and they can rot away in some Google Drive file somewhere and then never get used by anybody and become out of date. So it's not like that's a one shot for systems, especially now with AI. People can have a chat and make an SOP and put it somewhere no one will find. Really, it's about the communication. Like, are we communicating quickly and effectively together, and the consistency, which is really the sense. And for a lot of business owners, this is the huge one of, okay, if I hand something off, is it going to actually happen? Is it going to actually not drop? Especially if you're somebody, and like I said, I work with a lot of people who have these struggles who maybe working memory is an issue. So if they tell you something, they're gonna forget it. They don't need to remind you. Now they just have another job, which is called managing another person.
Got it. So SOPs, maybe not. It really takes somebody who wants to make the change, right? I think that's where we're coming down to.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit of both. So I would say if we talk about communication and what we do with our clients actually is we build a map. So we'll build a visual map of the business, something that everyone can see. And that helps a lot with the communication because you can see this is how sales come in. This is how we get referrals. You've got the whole thing mapped out in a visual way so that you can look at, okay, this is red because we haven't even done it. This is orange because we have no processes for it. This is green and you can click here and there your SOP is for this. But if we get lost too much in the details of the SOP, we lose the ability to have the real problem, which comes in when someone's sick and you're like, God, I have to send that invoice and I don't remember how to do it. Like, how does that work? And like, go and find the information. Or when you're saying we need to spend more money on our acquisition pipeline and deliveries drowning and they really need help, you can look at it and say, okay, delivery is actually understaffed and that's the next bottleneck.
So the map actually helps them a bunch, is what you're saying.
It is. It's the communication side. I think a lot of what we talk about is that it's really about figuring out what the owner finds easiest and building something that fits their brain. Because I work with a lot of owners, and I'll tell you, and I'll say it for myself, we are interesting, quirky people. Like, we have specific desires. There are people I know who refuse to do anything that isn't a voice note, people I know who refuse to do anything that is a voice note. And it's really about understanding what's going to work best for the owner, which is what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we were to summarize everything, it really comes down to trust, comes down to communication and consistency. We haven't spent a whole lot of time on consistency. Is that habit?
No, it's not. I mean, you really do want somebody who isn't going to drop the ball. So sometimes it's about hiring. And we personally, because we hire and help people hire for the different roles, we always do test first hiring, which basically means we'll actually see what they do at the job before we go like, oh, that was a really great conversation. They sound so much like me. Like, well, do you want another you in the business? Not always.
Probably not.
Yeah. But when we're coming into that consistency, it's really about working in public. And it's about identifying, okay, what are the metrics? Like, what are the one or two things that are connected usually to revenue that the person that you're working with needs to do consistently, and then having a check-in and ideally something with the whole team, even if it's just 30 minutes every 2 weeks, to say, okay, here's where I'm at, here's what I've done, this is my number, and they can work in public so everyone can see whether they're dropping the ball, they can see whether they're dropping the ball compared to everybody else, those kinds of systems. And it's a little bit of a cultural shift for people, so we often have to kind of build it in backwards and kind of go in with a soft touch. But those systems, when you can get them running, they're not just going to help with consistency for the team, they'll also help with consistency for the business owner because they're part of that team, talking about those numbers, and it can really point everyone in the right direction.
That sounds great. Jackie, sorry, Skye, final thoughts.
Yeah.
No, I mean, final thoughts. It's trust, communication, and consistency, right? Okay, so that's where we need to head. And we're going to have in the show notes where they can contact you, correct?
Yes, 100%. You can contact me, do a 30-day business build out. We'll give you a sense of what it would look like for you, and you're welcome to take it away and do it yourself or work with us if you want to.
Sounds great. Skye, thanks again for being with us.
No worries. It was great to be here.
And thanks to all of you for joining us. Choose one thing you discovered and implement it in your business. These ideas, tactics, and strategies help you make more money, have more free time, and give back. If you like today's program, spread the word. Please review this podcast on any device you're listening to it on. Help a fellow contractor make more money too. For comments or questions, call me at 770-729-0258 or email ruthking@hvacchannel.tv. Thanks for listening. Have a great and profitable day.